So thank you very much, Lisa, for joining me today for this special interview. I am so excited to have you on my show. And yeah, it's something that I'm really personally interested in myself, not just for myself, but also for women that I work with. And I'm really excited to let everyone know what it is that you do and what you're offering in your services. So can you give everyone an introduction to yourself and let us know how you came to do what you're doing right now?
Okay, so I'm Lisa Cotter, and I was one of the very first placenta specialists to train here in Ireland, and it was back in the summer of 2012. And I was interested in holistic medicine. I was interested in maybe getting a homeopathic remedy made from placenta. And when I was Googling that, I found placenta remedies and how to encapsulate your placenta. So I said, why not learn how to do that? Because that sounds amazing. And after my first child, I was pretty exhausted and wrecked and all that. So I was kind of thinking anything that could make it better.
Yeah.
So I trained, and I just kind of put word out there very slowly that I was doing it. And I did it for a couple of friends and some clients. And, here I am, nearly 6 years later and, extremely busy countrywide.
Mm-hmm. Excellent.
Sorry.
yeah. And how did you, where did it first come into your awareness that having placenta is something that's beneficial? Because I know the kind of mainstream thought was like, the placenta is like an organ, or, it's just a thing that grows around the baby and it's to be gotten rid of type of thing. As in like, doesn't have any use or anything.
Yeah, well, I suppose, when I did my training, it really opened my eyes to the fact that, this has been used for centuries to help women recover. It's not just something that grows around the baby. All other mammals will turn around and consume it. It's just at some point in society, it became, something that we didn't do or that it was disgusting. And people just changed their thoughts on it. But, every other mammal would turn around, maybe bar one or two, and consume the placenta just to get the nutrients back into the system so that they can care for their newborns. Some people have the argument that it's to keep prey away, but even if the whole placenta was, consumed, there would still be trace left. Animals have great sense of smell, so if there was prey coming, they would follow the amniotic fluid and everything. So that just totally, for me, it's not for that reason. I don't think that they consume it to get rid of it. I think they consume it to make themselves feel well. And then, I suppose I was hoping to try it myself as quickly as possible to reap the benefits myself so that I could experience it firsthand. I had to wait till my third child, unfortunately. But in the meantime, as I did it for clients, it really opened my eyes, because at the start I was saying, is it really going to be that good? But the feedback was just phenomenal from the very first client. I actually made a lady in Limerick. She was probably maybe, in around my first handful of clients. And from that one client alone, I did her sisters, her sister-in-law's sisters, her work colleagues. She had such an amazing experience. She had such bad postnatal depression on her first, and she just told so many people, and it was great because word started spreading from clients, not just from me selling the product.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, that's the kind of the main thing, isn't it? It's actually, because I know, like when I trained in nutrition, it was one of the tutors in the college, and she had her first child. She wasn't aware of placenta encapsulation and that, so she didn't do it the first time. And then she heard about it, and she trained as a doula as well. So she ended up doing it for the second time, and she just said the difference in her system was just so remarkable. And I was like, oh my gosh, it just made so much sense, because your hormones increase to such a level, and then all of a sudden they just dip. So naturally, that would bring down your mood and your energy. And then like what you were saying is like the energy that is required for a newborn is so immense.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's nature's design. It's just like a perfect design that's there.
Yeah, it's tailor-made for you. And I suppose an important thing to note is when you're pregnant, your placenta is making all the hormones from your body. So your own body stops doing what it usually does, and your placenta does all the work. When you have your baby and your placenta is gone, it takes your body, up to a fortnight, sometimes longer, to start producing everything again. So you get this dip. And some people, that's where the postnatal creeps in. Some people find it hard to come back up from that dip.
Yeah.
Some people don't have any issues at all. But to prevent that dip from happening, your capsules, you take your capsules, you get loads of energy, and the hormones are all ticking away nicely in your system just to keep you balanced as well on top of it.
Yeah, it's amazing. But also I think, because I trained with a doctor called Bill Walsh. He's a biochemist, and he specialized in the biochemistry, especially with women after having babies, like with postnatal depression. And he was saying that, you know, like sometimes when copper levels go too high in a woman, that can create like depression and anxiety. So to counteract that, the actual placenta is really, really, which I learned in my nutritional training, was that the placenta is very, very rich in zinc. So it actually, it's like, it actually balances out the woman's biochemistry and the baby's. So it's like, when I heard this, I was just like, oh my gosh, more people need to know about this. You know, not just from like, oh, to have more energy, you know, they're all important too, but also the fact that it's like, that's the mind, and it's the foundation of, you know, it's actually the very foundation of our society. So whether you're having children or not, it's actually something to be interested in, because we're all affected by that time, because, you know, that's the foundation of everyone's life.
Yes, exactly. And I think, you know, some people worry about postnatal depression too much, and I think there's a lot of focus put on it, and there's a lot of pressure on women, and they're instantly thinking, oh my God, postnatal depression. And I sometimes don't like that, because it puts negative energy out there. But you know, I didn't have postnatal depression, but I had postnatal aggression, and I didn't want anyone touching my baby. I didn't want people holding my baby. I didn't want people looking at my baby. I didn't want visitors. And in a way, it probably was postnatal depression, but I didn't think I was depressed, because I was so happy with my baby. But I wanted the baby to stay mine and nobody else's. And I was very erratic on my first two children. And then on my third, like, that was totally gone, because I'd had my capsules on him. Now, maybe I would have chilled out a bit more because it was my third baby, who knows? But I was pretty psycho on the first two, so I don't think I could have totally eradicated it if it wasn't the capsules, you know.
Yeah, that's amazing. And so you're based in Cork, but you're actually doing nationwide. Like, I know you're covering a lot more than just that region. So what kind of areas are you able to cover at the moment?
So kind of the furthest I've been, Dublin, maybe a small bit further than that. Up the country, we'll say, so like Portlaoise, Dublin, Clonmel, Limerick, Waterford, Tralee, Wexford, Kilkenny. Am I forgetting anything? I can kind of request the driver to go. You know, he can, you know, as far as he can in a day trip, you know. But you know, anything on request. I have had requests from other places, and if I can accommodate, I will. There are other specialists in the country as well. Some people prefer to go with me because I suppose I have my own labs, and not every other specialist has their own labs. I'm actually in the process of building a new lab at the moment, which hopefully will be ready in the next month. So if they're purpose-built units specifically for placentas, there's nothing else happening in my labs, only placenta work. So, you know, people like to have that traceability with me that they might not have with somebody else. But if I can recommend somebody else, if they are too far away from me, then I would, but there's very few people that I would recommend personally.
Yeah. So you have to ensure, I suppose that would be the first thing that everyone would think of, you know, in terms of their own like safety and stuff. It would be, you know, is it going to be hygienic? You know, it's like, you know, you're having to trust the whole batch. Is it all being done correctly? You know, making sure that it's all very hygienic and everything.
And like, it's very important, because some people don't ask questions. I mean, they're giving you something that is a blood product, and some people don't ask any questions. And I think it's paramount to ask who they train with, what procedures they're using, and where they're carrying out the work, because, you know, you cannot know what's going on once it leaves you. Once you hand it over to the specialist, you don't know what's happening with it. Whereas I'm very transparent. I have photographs of my workspace. I have all my paperwork. You know, you have to ask those questions. So if people are looking at, you know, somebody in their area, just be mindful of that, because, you know, sometimes it might be more expensive to go with me if there is travel costs, but the reliability is there with me, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, because years back, it was a friend of mine. I don't know if you remember her, but anyway, she's a lady. She's based in Cork, and I was talking to her and she was like, I think I just maybe learned about the placenta encapsulation. I was like, oh, I just want to be like shouting it from the rooftops. I was like, you have to do it, you have to do it. So I found your website back then. This is like, I'd say at least three and a half years ago. And she got it done by you she was in CUH. And she was just like, oh, she said the difference in her from just even the first few capsules, she was just like, it just completely, it's like her recovery, everything. She was able to go out walking. She was able to, she's just like, oh my gosh, like, because she could feel herself having a little bit of a dip, and that just turned it around. And I was just like, oh, I'd love to just see more and more of how that benefits. Because as you say, you might not think like, you might look back on, say, previous pregnancies and say, well, I didn't have postnatal depression, I was fine. But it's like, maybe you're not knowing how good you could potentially feel at that time, because the way, sleep deprivation, just have, you're thinking, I'll be feeling like this anyway, and kind of brushing it off as that's how women are meant to feel. Whereas
and it doesn't have to be like that. I mean, it's totally, like, if anything, it's the exhaustion is the worst part, and it like practically eradicates the exhaustion. It's so many women just, they can't believe how much energy they have, and they're just like, I feel great, and I was up all night feeding, and I still managed to have a shower, and go out for a walk, and all the little things that really do isolate you if you're feeling bad. So it really does make a huge difference, and as well as that, for healing purposes, if people have cesareans, like I've had lots of women that would have had a cesarean on their first, and they're supposed to get worse child you have, and that they would have nearly in half the time healed and safely. They've just even a couple of them are midwives, and they said that the difference in their scar after 3 weeks was phenomenal compared to before. So it gives your body what it needs to do, produce the milk and look after the baby and look after you, because you just become secondary to everything else when you've had a baby. So when you take the capsules, your body just does everything that it needs to do, and you recover so much quicker.
That's amazing. Yeah, it's really good. And what kind of like feedback are you getting? I know obviously you're getting like lots of positive feedback from, say, clients and stuff like that. But do you find that people say, like midwives and people in the health professionals, are they becoming more open to it now, or what's that like?
Yeah, no, they're like, definitely in the last 2 years, I've noticed a huge increase in referrals from consultants and midwives. I do a lot of midwives, and most of the word of mouth obviously is one mother to another, but I've come across very, very little negativity from consultants, very little. I mean, I think there's one guy in Cork, he's a little bit old school, and he's like, oh, I don't know about that. Yeah. But he's not telling them not to do it. He's just saying, I'm not sure about it. He's saying there's scientific evidence, and there's never going to be huge scientific evidence because there's no money to do such things. But nobody is saying, oh, don't do that, or I think that it's that I wouldn't advise or anything like that. So definitely lots of referrals coming from clinics, and it's great to have medical people kind of say that they can see their clients benefiting from it.
Definitely, yeah, because that makes a huge difference, I suppose, if people are, it's not like some marginal thing that's like a weird thing to do, whereas actually bringing it into the mainstream, so it actually becomes like a common practice.
Yeah, and it is like, I mean, I'm up in CUH in Cork, like sometimes I can end up being there twice a day if sometimes the stars align and 2 women give birth the same day. But I'm up there a good few times a week at least, and then obviously countrywide as well. But it's so normal now at this point, and all the midwives are very nice to the mothers, and sometimes people come and they forget to bring ice, and they've rushed out the door and they've forgotten everything, and they're quick to help them and say, oh, we'll give you ice and we look after you, and you can get some more in the shop later. Very nice, very helpful. Whereas a couple of years ago, they might have said, oh, well, we've no ice to give you, so they're very open to it now.
Definitely a turnaround, yeah. Because I think when there's like new things come in, it's not even a new thing, it's like an old thing that's re-emerging.
Yeah.
It's like people have to kind of trust it. They have to see it. It has to become like, oh, it's safe, oh yeah, and now they're seeing benefits. And then like all of a sudden, because even, people say like Kim Kardashian and different celebrities and stuff like that, who really kind of put it out there, I suppose, into the media. And then it's like people go, oh, not to say that they're the only people to listen to, but as in they do have influence on people's decisions.
it, you know, it's normalizing it, it's taking the stigma away. And like, I suppose when I started doing this, I just did a very gently approach. I never, you know, I didn't ram it down anyone's throats. Took me a long time before I advertised in any of the clinics or any of the consultants' rooms, because I wanted them to be aware of it for a long time, and then approach them about, you know, putting a flyer in or something like that. So I was never pushy. And then obviously when the celebrities start doing it, it makes it a little bit more normal, so you can kind of approach people a bit better that way. But it was a softly, I mean, it has taken nearly 6 years for it to get to this level, you know. But it's great because, you know, people aren't totally, obviously people are still grossed out, and I can totally understand that, and, you know, everyone each to their own, but definitely people that are thinking about it now that wouldn't have before.
Yeah, well, like, because I think the whole thing is, it's just, I don't know, it's just the relationship that we do have with the body, like thinking that things like are weird or gross or strange or anything like that. But it's like, it's again, it's just, I think when people have more experience with it, and then they feel it's the safe thing to do.
Yes.
And I think, and the benefits.
The benefits, and the fact that it's in a little capsule, and you just don't even have to, you don't have to see it.
Yeah.
It comes in a nice little capsule, so, you know, it all looks pretty at the end, so it's totally palatable, so you can just take the rest out of your mind. Sorry, now something's come up here.
Oh, and so what kind of batch, obviously, would you say, like, in general, would people get the same amount of capsules, or is it depending on the size of the placenta? Like, do people have different sizes, or what's that like?
Yes. Yeah, all different shapes and sizes, but you'd be talking anything from, like, well, if baby that was full term, about maybe 7 pounds of a baby, we'll say, might start at maybe 120 capsules, anything up to, like, I've had some women that had these big, huge placentas, big babies, and had nearly 300 capsules.
Oh.
You know, so it all depends. Some women are very lucky and have fine big placentas, but usually between 120 to 170 is the norm.
Yeah.
Around there.
Yeah, and you also do other things like tinctures with the placenta as well. Is that what you offer? Yeah.
And so there's the mother tincture, which can be used. It reminds me of the rescue remedy, you know, the Bach rescue remedy that you would take. So it's very good for times of anxiety or emotional stress or PMT or anything like that. And that's just for the mother. You get a fine big bottle of that. It would last you. It has no shelf life, but it would last you as long as it lasts, you would say. There's also the mother essence, which is an extremely dilute version of a tincture, we'll say, and that can be used with baby as well. So you can, the same kind of thing for emotional stress or teething or colic, or, you know, you're putting baby into a new room, or, you know, first day of school, all these little things. It's a nice one to have. And I also do the homeopathic remedy as well, and that can be used then homeopathically or constitutionally for the mother, but it's tailor-made for the baby, but the whole family can kind of use that as well. I use my sons for my kids on their first day of school when they were, you know, panicking, and I tell them I give them a brave sweetie, and, you know, like, you know, I think it helped them a bit.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, because I'm sure it's like, if you know, it's the kind of the essence of what you come in with. So it's kind of like reminding you, I suppose, of that always. Yeah. Like that kind of womb like support that is always there, but maybe not able to feel it.
Yeah. So I find I think I always, if the girls are, you know, upset about something, or, you know, even if the pet dies or anything, I think it helps them a little bit. It just gives them a little bit of nurturing that just subconsciously, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, what kind of messages would you like to pass on to people like that are considering having their placenta encapsulated, and they're kind of weighing up whether they should do it, or whether it's worth the, you know, going ahead and actually getting it sorted?
I think, you know, if you're thinking about doing it at all, like, you know, you can't take it back out of the bin, basically. You can't, once it's gone, and it's so precious. You will not believe the difference that your body will have after having a baby. It is phenomenal. And I know lots of women say, oh, it's my first baby. Oh, you know, how do I know that I won't be this or won't be that? But, like, regardless, you've carried the baby for 9 months, you're tired. You've gone through labor. Even if it's the best labor in the world, you're tired. And now you're going to be looking after a new baby. You're going to be tired. So if you can do something to help you with that, why wouldn't you, you know? And like, I kind of used Conor McGregor as a reference recently. Like, I mean, he trained hard for a big fight, goes into the ring, has a big, massive fight, and then he recuperates and gets time to relax and then come back again. But with us, we train for our baby, we have our baby, which is like the big fight, and then we're dead on our feet looking after a baby. So, you know, the capsules really do help you with energy levels. They help, you know, your body recover, and it really does help with milk supply as well, and the postnatal side of things. Keep your mind on an even keel, and you just really enjoy, you know, the first couple of weeks, as opposed to being physically and mentally drained, which will happen to most women. You know.
So it's kind of like, to me, it's like taking out that kind of dreaded, like knowing that that's the kind of, as you say, it is the recovery time, but you're not allowed to recover because you can't put your baby away. Like, you have to deal with the baby, and like that's it, like a 24-hour thing. So kind of like, I suppose if you were, it's the perfect design really by nature, in that it's like women are designed to do this, but also because they have to also care for the baby, this has actually been given as a remedy, really, as a nature's remedy to actually give you the energy to do so. Exactly.
And it's just such a shame, you know, if people are thinking about it and they don't, and then they come back to me on their second baby and they do it and they're like, oh my God, why didn't I do this on my first? And I'm like, it's, you know, some people just aren't there yet, and I can understand that. If you can avoid it on your first baby, you will have such an amazing experience. You know, it's hard to learn from a mistake. And, you know, if you are thinking about it, I think it's definitely, you know, every woman, it should, like, I've had some women text me saying this should be mandatory. It should just have to happen. It should be a choice. You know? Like, and, you know, especially girls who suffered really badly with postnatal and were dreading their second baby. And, you know, that's a horrible dread to have. And like, the difference, like, they just felt so amazing. And some women even would have been able to stay off their medication a bit longer and breastfeed longer because they felt so well. So, you know,
that's amazing.
It is a no-brainer for me. And, you know, get your head around it, get your head around the icky part, because I do that.
Exactly.
Everything just comes to you nicely packaged, and just pop little pills in the morning.
No, it's beautiful, because my friend actually had sent me the picture of it and everything, and she was like, oh, it's so beautiful. And it's just like, and again, it's like a gift back to the mother as well, isn't it? It's like gifting the mother back of what she's actually put into growing the baby as well in her body.
And like, we spend so much money on rompers and buggies and car seats, and like, we pour money into all these things, and half of the clothes don't get worn by the baby. You know, there's loads of stuff that you end up, you know, wasting money on, whereas like the best money you can give and the best present you can give yourself is this, if you ask me, you know.
Yeah, definitely. So where can people find you? Where's the best place for them to
so there's my website, so www.placentaencapsulationcork.com. People can ring me or text me, ask for a call back on 086-893-4024, and my Facebook and Twitter and Instagram as well, at Placenta Cork or Placenta Encapsulation Cork Ireland on Facebook. But I get, you know, text messages, and, you know, I'm pretty busy, so sometimes it might take me a day or two to get back. Depending. But you know, I usually, it's 24 hours the very least, I'll be back to anybody.
Brilliant.
The booking process is very straightforward, just in case people are worried about that kind of thing. It's all done electronically, so you don't have to be going printing stuff and posting stuff and all that. It's all done online, which is very straightforward. And then you just need to get your cooling items and things like that to bring to the hospital with you as well.
Brilliant.
It's all very straightforward.
Yeah, excellent. And also, if people say, what, I know you cover lots of hospitals, what about people who are doing, say, the home births? Is that something that that covered as well?
Same thing. Like, I collect myself from the Cork area, and if it's outside of the Cork area, then my driver will go and collect. And just in case people are wondering who's my driver, what is he comes on a motorbike. He's not a big hairy biker, don't worry. He's a driver, and he actually volunteers with Blood Bike South. So they're a volunteering group that if one hospital needs blood and the other hospital has it, they come on the motorbike and they deliver blood from hospital to hospital. So it's a national service, and they, like, if the Cork guy will meet in Portlaoise, if it's Dublin, and so on and so forth. So that's what he does on a volunteering level. So he has all the training to be handling blood products, and he knows all the hospitals as well, which is great.
Yeah.
And he's extremely professional. So he, you know, I ring him in the morning and he's gone within a couple of hours to collect a placenta and drops it to my door here, which is great. I don't have to leave the house.
Yeah.
And it's all very streamlined, and he liaises with the dads of the partners. And it's all very quick and easy. So just in case, because some people were worrying, you know, who's going to come and collect it if I'm not.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Is it some taxi driver or something? People are like, who is this person?
Yeah. And then when they hear motorbike, you know, they just hear, you know, they can see ZZ Top coming.
Yeah.
You know? I was like, he's not a big hairy biker. So he's extremely professional and trustworthy. So yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. Excellent. So I think we've kind of given everyone the lowdown anyway, as much as possible. Is there anything else you'd like to cover, or do you feel that's as much as...
I think that's it. I suppose one other thing that has popped up in the media, there was the Group B strep incident in America, and I suppose some people were getting a bit fearful of that, but just to put people at ease, that person in America did not use proper protocols. We would have proper training. IPEN, who I trained with, we have a food safety management system, and we also have a microbial study done to back that up. So all our processes are iron sealed, basically. If the mother has Group B strep, we would have a different method of preparing it, and everything is heated at 70 degrees for at least an hour for the raw prep, also killing all surface bacteria as well. So it's perfectly safe. Our processes are, as I say, iron sealed. In the UK, our processes are covered by the food hygiene industry over there, and we have a 5-star food hygiene rating in the UK for women that are registered there. So we're just neighbours. It's the exact same process. It's just the Irish Food Safety Authority haven't recognised placenta encapsulation as a food business yet. But it's a fairly robust document, the food safety management system document that we have, and everything is covered there. So all IPEN trained specialists would have that training, and it's perfectly safe for the Group B strep. That incident in America it wasn't processed correctly. And you know, there was some question marks as well, because there was no infection found in the breast milk. There was no Group B strep positive in the breast milk, but it was in the capsules. So people were wondering, how did the baby get infected, because the baby wasn't taking the capsules and it wasn't in the breast milk.
Yeah.
So there was a question there as well as to how, you know, it could have been the capsules might have had the Group B strep and poor handling of the capsules, and then could have been passed through hand hygiene as well. But regardless, the capsules did test positive because they weren't processed correctly.
But even saying that brings back to mind just how important it is to go with somebody like yourself who is properly trained and actually is going through all these procedures. Not like something that you can just, I have a dehydrator, I'll dehydrate your placenta, you know, willy-nilly type of thing. That you actually, it is very important, and it has, you know, things like that can potentially happen if it's not done correctly.
Yes, exactly. Because definitely 100% go with somebody who knows what they're talking about. I pen trained at the very least, and still asked to see the workplace. Yeah,
absolutely. And also, just in case anyone comes across this interview online and is thinking about maybe training, because I know you offer training as well. That's something, you know, because I know, because I think a lot of people, especially like midwives, doulas, these kind of things, a lot of people are kind of moving into, if they hear this, they're like, well, maybe I want to do this, you know, like there is kind of that aspect that you offer as well.
There is. I facilitate the training for IPEN in Ireland here. So if anybody's interested, if they go to placentanetwork.com, and there's lists of training dates. Next year's dates aren't up yet, and this year's date is actually in 2 weeks' time, I think. But there's 2 dates in the year I hold training, usually like in around the start of the year and in around, you know, let's say October, November. And placentanetwork.com if anyone's interested in training.
Brilliant. Wonderful. So thank you so much for your time, and I really like talking with you about placenta encapsulation, and I can't wait for more women to enjoy the benefits of it.
Great. Thanks, Ashley.
All right. Thanks for Lisa.